Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, and good morning, everyone. As Sarah mentioned, welcome to the discussion this morning on diversity and design. Do appreciate everyone joining this morning and joining a pretty important discussion on diversity and some intentional design decisions that we've seen. No, we're not architects, nor do we pretend to be one on TV, but we are a national development advisory firm, work with a number of organizations, and we've had the pleasure of working also with a number of different designers and help guide organizations through a complex development process. And really happy to see that a number of provider organizations are bringing on roles within their organization to progress diversity within their own organizations. When we talk about diversity in design, I always like to start out by a comment on breaking down stereotypes. And you'll see an image on the screen of a yield sign. This is a reimagined yield sign in Europe, which really speaks to the heart of what is our perception of older adults in the community, as well as in the outside walls of our organizations. This notion of stereotypes carries to medical equipment. You know, what do hearing devices look like moving forward? On the right, you'll see more traditional mechanisms, and on the left, perhaps a more sophisticated looking device that will be utilized more and more moving into the future. One little last backdrop comment. Here's some of the provider organizations we worked with over the years, single site, multi-sites. We are happy to say we're celebrating our 20th year, and again, really proud to say we've seen several organizations take a step in the right direction as it relates to inclusion. Again, one primary example of this may be existing clients bringing on diversity and inclusion roles within their respective organizations. Our goal this morning is to share some design strategies that we've seen implemented that may generate some ideas to consider in your own community. And then I'll wrap up with an interactive exercise that you can take back to your organization as a method to generate some additional ideas. Planning is not one thing or one element, but intentional design can progress inclusion. Here are 4 aspects of inclusion. We certainly have age, gender, race, and economic. I'll touch on each of these here this morning at a high level, and again, wrap up with some thoughts you might want to take back with you today. Another example I like to start out with is a nursing home in Portugal. And why did I pick this image? It certainly also breaks down perceptions. If we didn't see this caption, I would guess not many of us would have guessed the use of this building. The design looked to create an environment of independence, dignity. All the units are grouped in a row or neighborhood. And then there's a connection link to where services are provided for nursing care. Didn't want to editorial on, do we like the design? Do we not like the design? But it was interesting that for their particular area, with their stated objectives, they really thought outside the box on what suits their resident population. So let's start with age inclusion. Here's a project in New Hampshire. The architect is Demilla Schaefer out of Boston. It's called the Baldwin. And the Baldwin really looked at, and the Baldwin's located in Londonderry's Woodmont Commons. It's a broader development that is looking at a live, work, play development. And Baldwin really wanted to invite intergenerational engagement. So I'm going to backtrack here for a moment. And within a greater complex of this development is that multi-use development of live, work, play. You do have a sense of arrival in this main urban corridor, some community buildings that not only serve the residents, but the broader community, and really is integral to the neighborhood. This is in pre-construction right now, but their goal was to provide meaningful intergenerational benefits, whether that's increased social interaction, whether it's connecting with the broader community, some intellectual stimulation and lifelong learning, and opportunities to share spaces and to provide enrichment programs. This isn't necessarily a university-based retirement community, but many Maryland organizations are looking at partnerships with higher education. And here is one example of a community that's not only looking to do that on the higher ed side, but also being within the fabric of their own community. Community integration. Another example we like to use is, here is an organization called the Admiral at the Lake. It is a Kendall affiliate located in Chicago, Illinois. You'll see an image on the top right of a construction photo of this high-rise being built. But a goal here was really to, again, integrate into the community. So services for the buildings in the neighborhood were included at grade level with storefront retail in these urban areas. And these gathering rooms were really meant to be direct public access. One of the uses right now is looking at considering on-site childcare for staff. But there are plenty of opportunities, especially in an urban environment, where partnering with the broader community and being mindful of what spaces and gathering rooms can be used is a great example of integrating into the community. What the Admiral's Lake also does is partner with a preschool in the neighborhood to utilize their gathering spaces, and some form of intergenerational activity occurs pretty much on a weekly basis. Want to touch on cultural corners. Again, another nod to educational crossover. And you may in design sometimes have heard the term cross-pollinating among other environments. We certainly see that with healthcare, of course, hospitality. And again, I'd urge us to consider education as a crossover as well. One other benefit to be in an urban setting, I'll orientate you here in a moment. Here is the Admiral at the Lake. It constitutes literally one city block within Chicago. To the right or the east is Lake Michigan. Here is the structure itself. The building is divided into the portion on the east, which is primarily independent living, which faces the east. Has some outdoor terraces, some green space at grade, and the health center located on the west. Early in planning, we did work with the city of Chicago in defining public transportation opportunities. So in addition to these 4 bus stops that were created, there is also a metro or a train station a few blocks west of the organization. And accessibility of public transportation in urban areas is just key. And you'll see, again, multiple opportunities for transportation, which gives easy access to staff, guests, residents, and opportunities to bring folks in outside of the organization. I know it's not necessarily architecture, but when decorating spaces, how does it speak to diverse communities? What type of photos or artwork are on the walls? An example here is a organization we work with in Maryland, had an African art exhibit up in the Community Arts Center. And interestingly enough, I had bumped into a new trustee that was joining the board, and really appreciated the diversity of the artwork selected, and really solidified his decision to become a new trustee with Broadmead. As we look at economic inclusion, there's probably two aspects of this that I wanted to touch on. One is, here's a photo of, now that the neighborhood is nice, why do I have to move out? The counterpoint to that is, the neighborhood is nice, or work is available, and I don't have an option for housing to even consider. This is an example in a rural community outside of Denver, Colorado, that looked at workforce housing as an option for not affordability of staff, but also efficiencies in providing a lifestyle option within the area. And you'll see on the map, on the eastern edge is the main campus with independent living apartments, skilled nursing, and assisted. There are plans called for additional independent living and a community center that will really serve all the residents, including the workforce housing. And one of the strategies is to build up the workforce housing over time. So this depiction has a dotted line of a nod towards how do you potentially also economize on construction using modular housing and phasing in the workforce housing over time as the need arises. Last topic I'll touch on is gendered spaces, which can be comprised of toilets, dressing rooms, workplace environments. And here's a stat and results of a survey conducted in 2015. There was about 28,000 transgender and diverse gender people responding to the survey, documenting their experience with restrooms in particular the year before, and really eye-opening statistics on looking at the top statistic at 48% sometimes avoided the bathroom the year before. So one consideration would be looking at gender neutral bathrooms in common areas to address gender equality. So as I mentioned, I'm going to wrap up here with an interactive exercise that can be done with your senior leadership team, with groups of different stakeholders within your organization. And the exercise really looks at three main steps. Identifying one concept that might implement a new initiative for inclusion within your community. The second item of the interactive exercise is considering various viewpoints, whether it's, again, internally focused, but we also urge you to look at the broader community and different people's perspectives on the concept. And last but not least, conclude with having a strategy to implement that concept. On this sheet, you see sort of outline the interactive exercise. On the left of, again, creating a strategy for a new inclusion initiative, how you might go about thinking about that, who to include in that discussion, and the outcome really is an idea and an implementable strategy for your organization. And to the right, I've included just a sample piggybacking the notion of a gender neutral bathroom as just one example of an initiative that might take place within your organization. So with that, I might be running a minute or two over time. I just want to really thank everyone for participating in the discussion today. We're looking at educating and raising diversity, inclusion awareness, really celebrate staff and resident differences, identify goals for your communities to consider, and being deliberate about intentionally setting those goals and putting them into action. But thank you again, and have a great rest of the day. Sarah, I don't know if we have time for a minute or two of questions, but I'll wrap up.